Shake and bake. Here we go. And we're live. What's up, Christina? Gonna say what's up?
Yeah, I'm going.
All
Hello,
right.
all.
Hey people.
We are live, and today we are doing pair programming with a community member. Yay! So, Nick usually does pair programming. I'm going to introduce them today. This is Nick Taylor. He is one of my wonderful coworkers who does a lot on the front end at Dev, and he is going to be working on an issue with Eliot, who is one of our community members, and I'm going to be dropping links for both of them in just a moment so that you can connect with them elsewhere on the web. Eliot, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey, I am in my mid 30s. I taught myself to code about 5, 6 years ago, and I have just had a huge desire to become a developer, software engineer, since I learned my first line of code. I've switched careers into web development. I worked as legal support for many years, worked as a database expert, Excel expert, and I discovered code while I was doing that, and that's what led me to becoming a web development teacher. And now I'm a software engineering contractor, and I'm actively looking for a full-time role. So please do hit up my portfolio page, DM me on Twitter. I would love to chat with you about any openings that you have for especially React front-end developers. But I'm definitely open to talking to you about a position that you think I would be a great fit for. Please do check out my portfolio site. It's techieeliot.com, and that's Elliot with one L, one T. So techieeliot.com. Please check that out. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you.
Yeah, and Elliot, just to kind of talk a little bit more before we drop into it, you've been working on like a side project too, right, with a bunch of other people. So you're kind of like leading a project too. So you're already having like some experience with this. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for bringing that up. I lead a company of contractors. It's called Dev South Consulting LLC. And we're currently building a legal platform for a mediator that's in the Atlanta area.
Okay.
And yeah, we built it using Laravel for the back end. And I have an amazing DevOps and database architect guy. And then front end guy and myself, uh, we handle the React side of things. And I mean, we all handle a lot of the React, but we lead that side of it. And I'm very fortunate to have found these guys. I did boot camp with them,
Oh,
and I
that's
also
cool.
was able to recruit my instructor to join us. So
Nice.
we have a
Now the
senior
teacher becomes the
engineer on the team.
student.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but yeah, I mean, this is a client that I deal with. The client every week. We have a meeting, and tomorrow we're actually demoing some document upload onto a case. So that's going to be a big deal in the morning. I'll be probably late into the night working on that to
Ah,
get that demo done. But
Very cool.
we'll we've got most of it working. It's just some fine tuning at this point. But I have an amazing team, like you mentioned, and I really enjoy leading them. And it's been a real a dream come true for me in that way. Just being able to lead a team and also work in React. I love development and especially love the front end React side, and it's just been a joy to do.
Cool. Yeah,
cool,
I definitely
cool.
want to bring that up because I think we have a lot of people a lot of times that join us in the dev community that are like newer to tech or maybe haven't had their first tech job or maybe they're in between jobs. And I think sometimes we think we can only have a full-time job. And even like you're saying, you found a group and you're working and you're doing stuff and you're doing this kind of like a contractor. I did that for a while too. And I think there's a lot of opportunities out there. So I think that's great that you're doing that. So Nick, do you want to talk about kind of what you all will be working on a little bit today and yourself if you'd like to?
Yeah, sure. So, like Christina mentioned, I'm her coworker. Christina is awesome. I'm a senior software engineer on Dev. Well, the Forem is what we work on. It's the software that powers Dev. You'll hear a lot of us on the team say dev/Forem a lot because people are more familiar with dev still, I think. But Forem is what the software is underlying dev. I focus primarily on the front end, but I have done full stack. I've worked in large companies, small companies. So, even at one job, I was a front end, but I was still deploying to Kubernetes. So, you do what you got to do. Yeah, so today, I'll get you to pop these links in a bit there, Christina. But we were on Raise.dev's Twitch stream this week on Tuesday, and you and I discussed accessibility. As we mentioned during the stream, we are not accessibility experts, but it's definitely something that's very important. And so we just had, I thought it was a pretty good discussion about it. We had some good chatting going on there in the stream chat. And so in keeping with that, we're working on an accessibility issue today. So I'm just gonna switch screens to give us the share here. All right, you should all be seeing my browser now, and you should see us minified in these little browser windows. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen with you, Elliot. Give me 2 seconds here.
Okay.
All right, there we go. Shake and bake. Here we go. Cool. All right, so yeah, so everybody should be able to see my browser now. You see my browser too, Elliot? Yeah. So.
Yes, I do.
Cool. So this issue is opened by one of our community members, Suzanne. I'm not sure how to pronounce the last name. I'm going to say Atchison, but I'm not positive. So as we were mentioning, we're doing accessibility this week, and this is an accessibility issue. We're just going to, there's not a huge description, but it's pretty concise explaining what's going on here. So I don't have much experience with this, but with, I believe, is it screen readers she was saying? Let me just check out the issue a second. What to do? I think it's related to screen readers. So a lot of people that use screen readers like to navigate the content using headers. So like for those, I'll potentially say some obvious things here, but the HTML tags like H1, H2, H3 goes all the way to H6. I don't think it goes any further. They probably just said at that point, out of gas, can't do it. So
Choose a paragraph.
yeah,
You
exactly.
become small enough.
Yeah. So with the screen reader, people like to navigate through these headers, and there's probably other areas of the dev site, or basically any Forem instance that installs the software, where this might be an issue as well. But one of the wins they were suggesting was when you're in the editor. So if I come here, if I switch to the editor for a second. Okay, so we have a new post here, and I still have leftover bacon ipsum from the other day. I'm just going to
Nice.
I'm gonna just revert those changes. Of course, the Zoom share screen bar is in the way, but okay.
You're making me hungry, Nick.
There we go. Revert changes. Cool. All right. So let's see here. Elliot is awesome. This is my new blog post, number 1. And then I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna go, all right, H1 about me. And then I'm gonna go, let's see here. I'm gonna go, and this is Markdown. Just to clarify for people that aren't familiar with Markdown, it's a kind of terse way of generating HTML. I don't know if there's what the official site for Markdown is, but basically Google Markdown. There's different flavors of it. GitHub has its own flavor. I honestly can't remember what flavor we use on Forem.
You can look at the Markdown on the side there. The editor basics use Markdown.
Thank you, help. See, there we go. Christina dropping the knowledge nuggets. Okay, so then I'll say here, I don't know, my career or something, and then I go, oh, I'm gonna put an H2 here now. Let's see, hobbies. So you can go and like just say, hello. This is clearly not Eliot's resume because you don't write hello on a professional resume, but I'm going to come to the preview here. And what we should see happen here is about me should become an H1 HTML tag. My career should be the text within an H3 tag, and then hobby should be under an H2 tag. And that's what we see here. So now I'm going to I'm going through obvious stuff here because I always like to show obvious stuff because I've learned over time that obvious isn't always obvious. Okay, so if we come here to the elements, and yes, I'm using a mouse, so whoever that was that tweeted you're junior if you use a mouse, do not listen to that advice, people. I'm a senior and I use a mouse, so there you go. All right.
Like we said the other day, especially when you're streaming, a mouse is nice because you're pointing to where you're going. It's highlighting it for other people. Like
yeah.
That's like what you want to do.
All right, so
Hot
if
take
we,
right there. Hot take.
yeah, I'm just trying to make the stream spicy. That's all. Okay, so you can see here I focused on Eliot is awesome, and I'll zoom in one more time here just for the folks at home. You can see that there's an H1 tag there, so that's expected because the Markdown converted it. Let's check out the other one, about me. And okay, that made it, and oh, that's within the H1, I guess. That's something else. But okay, that's interesting. That's not what I meant to do. Inspect here. Yeah, so we have an H3, and if we go to hobbies, it should be an H2. Now, for folks who aren't familiar with accessibility issues or even semantic HTML, this is wrong right now. If we come back here, the problem is, I'm just going to close my dev tools, is we have an H1, then we have an H3, and then we're going back to an H2. What we really need is, this is obviously made up text I'm doing here, but it should be something more like this so that about me is the main, then we have a second one, which is a career, and then the hobbies is the third one. That's probably not how this would normally be structured in a resume or whatever, but so the issue, there's a couple issues here. The first issue is, as Suzanne pointed out, is I'm just going to go to the local host again. And I'm going to click on one of the posts here. And if I inspect, this is Faker.js generating all these texts. We did not take the time to write these bizarre things. But you can see right here, the actual title of the post is an H1. So there's another problem. We don't want to allow people to add an H1 in here because then you end up with two H1s, and that's already disrupting the hierarchy. So that's essentially the problem. One, we don't want to allow for people to add H1s within the body of a blog post. And the other is we want to be able to link things or ensure that the ordering of headers is proper. So that's the gist of what I've understood about the issues. Is that pretty much what you've kind of understood as well, Eliot?
Yeah, I mean it seems pretty straightforward. Yeah, I mean you shouldn't have the dueling H1s, and then yeah, I mean it should stair step down smoothly rather than breaking that sequence like she's saying.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess this is the point where we're not going to jump into coding right away, and this is I forgot to mention it at the beginning, but the whole point of these pairings is it's not like a technical interview where somebody says, hi there, okay, so you're applying for such and such a job, you have an hour and a half to do this test in front of me, no pressure, go. That is 100%.
Eliot, if you don't complete this, you failed today.
Yeah. So I have to stress this like a lot because it's really not the goal. The goal of these pairings is to give exposure to community members. Like Eliot mentioned, he's looking for a role right now, but it's also to get people familiarized with the Forem code base. Also help them because there's varying levels that people have in terms of Git, even front end, back end development. There's people starting out, there's people that are pretty seasoned, but regardless, the point of this is let's discuss the issue. Let's see how far we can get. It doesn't even necessarily mean, like, sometimes the last stream we did, it was mainly the pairing, it was mainly just discussing about the approaches we'll take. And then Tanaya, who is our last guest, she's currently working on the issue, and she's been asking stuff in the issues, and I think she's almost has a draft PR up. But it's really, the goal is we just want you to get things started, and then from here the discussion continues in the GitHub issue and the pull request. I'm definitely happy to chat with you on Zoom again as well, Eliot, for sure. But that's really the point of these things. It's obviously also to get some contributions to the Forem code base, but it's also to help people just working in open source as well. So just wanted to get that out of the way.
By the
Yeah, that's
way,
great.
Yeah.
I put it in the chat, but Rafi's in here who has contributed before. And so you all, you can chat in the chat too about this. If you have questions, there's other people who have contributed to the
great.
code base before. So.
No, part of the dev family.
Yeah, Rafi's done, I don't know how many contributions, but I've definitely seen a bunch very recently. So thanks for that, and shout out to, thanks for coming on the stream today. I'm just going to post in the chat, Suzanne, who created the issue, she has a blog post she wrote about talking about all these heading level issues. So I'm just going to pop that in the chat. You can see it in the issue as well, and I guess I should probably post the issue in there too. This is the issue we're working on. I'll let
Nick, somehow we've come back to emo today with that As I Lay Dying post up there.
Yeah, no, it's
keep coming around back to emo music.
Yeah, we were on this stream the other day, and when I was tabbing through, people kept seeing my Spotify. I wasn't listening to emo, but Christina was, so then we just got into this. Nothing wrong with emo at all.
No, I'm just reliving my 16-year-old self. Maybe I'm feeling old now, and I'm just like, how do I feel like a 16-year-old again? So
it's all good. It's all good. Okay, so now that we pretty much understand what the issue is, we're definitely gonna start talking about how we can, get something working here. But before we do that, I also just want to go through. I showed this to you briefly yesterday or the day before, Eliot, but I want to just show a bit to folks at home as well how the editor actually works. So I'm gonna open up the dev tools again, and I'm pressing Command P here. For those that aren't aware, in the dev tools of Chrome and Firefox and pretty much any Chromium-based browser, if you do Command P, it's kind of like in your editor where you can start looking for files. So I already know what this file is. It's called article form. And what you're going to see here is I'm going to put a breakpoint. We're using Preact as part of the front-end code base. There's other things in here as well. There's Vanilla.js. We also use another library called Stimulus, but that's in the admin section. So we're not really going to talk about that today. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put a breakpoint because what we're working in here is actually a Preact component. So for those who've never done Preact, the API is pretty much the same as React. I think the only main difference, there's only two main differences now. Preact uses native browser events, whereas React uses synthetic events. And a synthetic event is a wrapper around the native browser element. So anybody that ever did jQuery or any other kind of thing that handles cross-browser compatibility, that's what the synthetic event does in React. But Preact is a lot smaller, and they opted to just stick with native browser events. The only other major difference, and I don't know if this will change, but it's still not officially released in React, but there's suspense coming in React. I don't know if you can find a link for that, Christina. Just talking about suspense maybe at some point. We can pop that in the chat. But with Preact, as far as I know, they're not even gonna do suspense. I can't remember the reasons, but I think I think high level they don't think it's necessary. That's kind of what I understood. But you can definitely check out preactjs.com for that to maybe read a bit more or check in the GitHub issues. So all that to say is just a little preamble here. Um, Most of the Forem and dev website or any instance of Forem, we're heavily a content-based system. It's people writing blog posts. We do have the chat part as well. That's something else, but most of the website is really just content. So we cache a lot of things heavily on the server side, and that allows for us. There's other things we have in regards to performance, but one of the things we do is cache very heavily on the back end side of things. There's the browser cache as well, which is another thing. Feel free
Yeah,
to.
speaking of which, I cannot get dev off of my local host,
You have to.
even when I'm
Yeah,
working on other stuff.
yeah. Usually what you have to do
Just the header
is
and the footer.
yeah. If you come here into application and you go to clear
Yeah.
storage, you clear the site data there, and then it's because there's a
Yeah.
service worker registered.
Yeah.
Um, and for those that aren't aware what service workers are, a quick Google should probably bring you to MDM probably. Um, but getting back to what we were talking here is like I mentioned, a lot of the page is heavily cached. When we're doing development, it isn't, so we can actually make changes. But what happens is what you're seeing initially is it's all server side rendered, including the form, all the information if there is any in the uh, post that they're currently writing in draft or if it's being edited. So I have a breakpoint here. You're gonna see it says article form. That's a Preact component that is gonna bootstrap Preact to allow us to use the editor. But I'm just gonna refresh the page for a second. And of course it doesn't hit the breakpoint. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so okay, so we haven't rendered the article form yet, but you can already see that there's markup on the page. This is kind of a smoke
Okay.
and mirrors thing. I talked about this briefly a bit yesterday on the stream with Becca Howitt Rigel yesterday. Um, you have the markup here, and then Preact is kind of gonna erase what's there and bootstrap itself. So you won't see anything change because there's a few things in here that we could probably dive into other things, but there's a notion of something called the virtual DOM in React, Preact. I've, I've, I've never done Vue, but I think they use VDOM as the virtual. It's called VDOM as well, but virtual DOM. It's essentially a memory-based representation of a chunk of markup. And when you go to say I want to update the UI, it checks things in memory first, and then it's able to laser focus. So for example, if I have on the left a title that is changed in the article, and that's the only thing that's changed, it's going to compare the two things in the virtual DOM, and it's going to go, oh, only the text of the title changed, so the only actual DOM, and DOM meaning document object model, is it's going to just say, I just need to find the element, which is the title element input, and I need to set its value to the new title. Instead of a traditional application in vanilla JS, for example, where you might just say inner HTML and you literally just bulldoze over everything. So because Preact uses the virtual DOM, even though there's markup already in the page, it's actually smart enough to compare it to what's already in there, and it will only change what it needs to. So that's why you don't see things flash. And now I'm gonna just let it run, and then the page runs, and you see Eliot is awesome gets popped in there. So
I do want to point out one thing as you're going. I don't think it makes a huge difference, but in case anyone's on dev and they're like following along and seeing this, if your editor looks different at all, this is like the newer editor. There's another editor that's more basic. They're both inside this article form, but just so you know that you may see
yeah,
differences.
no, that's a great point. And I also just want to take 2 seconds to give a shout out to the pink theme. I'm a big fan of the pink theme, so just
I use the pink
pink.
theme too.
Yeah, thanks Ali Spital for doing that. I don't know, is it Spital or Spittle? I don't know how to pronounce her
You
last
know, in my
name.
head I say spittle, but I don't know. We should probably ask Allie some.
Yeah,
I'm
Allie,
sorry, Allie.
if you're out there, please let me know. Okay. So essentially, that's how the editor bootstraps, and then we can. What we're probably gonna need to do is we're definitely gonna have to do something in regards to the Preact side of things in here. Um, the only other thing I wanted to show the folks at home, and I believe I showed this to you yesterday, Elliot, but is, um, and this is also my daily mention of get to know your browser tools, folks, if you're doing web development. So almost all browsers have, I would say, probably all of them, even Safari has a network tab. So you can switch over there and you can see what's going on in terms of network stuff. So like if you make an Ajax call or something, you'll see it show up in here. So we have here, Eliot is awesome and the about me and stuff. And when I click on the preview, you're going to see that it renders the markup like we were showing before. But you're going to see that there was a network request made. So the page isn't refreshing. When you click preview, it's actually making a network request to the back end to say, I need to generate the preview of this. And so if we just come here and look at that briefly, you're going to see that this is just the browser showing it in a nice nice way, but it's JSON that's returned, and you can see there's this process underscore HTML property that is returned, and you can see that's where the markup that we show in the preview comes from. So this is just want to I know we went over it already, Elliot, but I just want to reiterate on all the moving parts just so we have kind of the full picture of what we need to handle here. So now that we have that there, I think it's time to start brainstorming about what we can do here. So how can we, one, prevent folks from putting in H1 tags in the content area? And maybe let's break it down. We'll do that first. Let's just tackle the issue of how do we prevent them from adding an H1 tag. And to be clear again with folks at home, the H1 tag is represented just by the pound or hash symbol here in Markdown.
So on Tuesday, we had a lot of chatter of people like giving us suggestions, and it was great. So if you have suggestions as we're going through and we're talking, you don't have to be passive. I'm checking out the chat and Twitch, and you can communicate with us if you all have ideas on this as well.
Cool. Yeah, so I guess,
I
what's
guess
your
I
first
would
thoughts?
think about when it goes to create the preview, I would think you would want to, I guess, either quietly change it at that point and then step them down.
Okay.
You know, each of the ones that come after it, it would step all of them down.
Okay, so
and the lowest could be H6.
okay.
You know, but I don't know, maybe there would be a better way to, I guess,
I
notify them
mean,
before.
technically you can have multiple like H2s and H3s and stuff, and
Hmm.
that's fine. Like
Yeah,
I think the
like
big
this.
Yeah, just the
deal
H1.
is
Yeah.
the H1 that you don't want those competing H1s for
Yeah.
accessibility.
Yeah. So like I said, let's break it down into smaller pieces because I know in the past when I haven't broken up things I get overwhelmed. So let's really focus just on the H1 preventing that because we know for sure that we just absolutely can't have H1s in the post body. The ordering of the other
Hmm.
ones, we can tackle that after, I think. So let's try and focus on what we can do to prevent the insertion of an H1 or at least give a warning or something.
Yeah, I guess that would be the route you'd want to go is if it's an H1, just transform it into an H2. Or you could, like you said, give some kind of warning, an alert that says this page already
Okay.
has an H1.
I have to say, do we even want it to be if that's always an H1 and that should be the H1, if dev's deciding this should be the H1, do we want to even give them the option in like Markdown to have an H1?
Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking, just potentially not allow it ever because as we mentioned, the title here, Eliot is awesome. When that gets previewed, it's going to become the H1. So
Mm-hmm.
so we'd have to think about yeah, how to just prevent them. So there's a couple things we could look at. It depends how we want to tackle it. We could prevent it client side uh, initially, but like a lot of things in terms of validation. So if we think of just validation in general, if if I say like this is an invalid email and I have client side validation, that's great, but people can always bypass that potentially. So we need to validate on the server as well. So
Yeah.
we can iterate over it. So like maybe we decide we'll handle it client side and server side as well. Maybe we'll just do it server side. I don't know. It's like there's no wrong answer to begin with. We just want to kind of get things kind of flowing. So
Yeah, you do want to kind of think of the UX of it, of like people, going through. Rafi kind of mentioned,
Yeah.
just like Elliot mentioned, like maybe something in line, like a, linter warning type thing. Like, um,
yeah,
there's
Yeah, I like that
something to be
idea.
said for us like forcing people not to use an H1, but then there's also like why do you not use an H1 type of thing, kind of letting people know.
yeah, and that's Rafi brings up a good point. This does seem like a linting thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I just
Yeah, like even just giving like the little red line that, the linter is angry at you.
yeah,
It doesn't
exactly.
like this.
Brandon's asking, would this require TypeScript? Well, he put TS. I'm assuming TypeScript is what he means. But I know for Deb, we don't actually use TypeScript, do we?
No,
At
but
least you told me.
yeah, yeah. I'm a big fan of TypeScript, Brandon, and I've done it since like 2015. But there's actually an issue on in the repository that I opened about considering it, and I've written a few blog posts about it. It's not to say no, but because I wouldn't say no to it, but it's more it's still kind of up for discussion. But you can check out those issues if you want. Um, but I think Rafi suggests like when he mentioned lint, I just googled Markdown linter because also to give a bit of info about when we commit things, we use something called Husky and lint stage. So when you go to commit things, it runs all these checks before it commits. We run ESLint, which is used for JavaScript and JSX files, but we also use Prettier to make Markdown pretty. Uh, and that got me thinking about the linter, so I googled Markdown linter because I don't know what you think, Elliot, but maybe we could consider looking into using an existing Markdown linting tool. I'm definitely not against making your own thing at all. It's more maybe we should also check to see what's out there. Uh, to because like if there's a linting tool that's pretty solid at it, we can
Yeah.
incorporate it potentially, and then it'll still help us with the use case that we have here. And so I just googled it. So Markdown lint.
Hmm.
I don't know if this is a JavaScript package stuff. No, this is a
They have a
Ruby
Ruby
one.
gem. Hmm.
Okay, so maybe this is something we could look at for once it processes on the server side. That could be something later, but maybe I'm taking a couple notes here. If you want to take the notes too, I'm just gonna open up my bare notes here, and I'm just gonna put in some things here that we can look at. And this is stuff. I think this would be great stuff to kind of add to the issue. We could say, can get a discussion going maybe, and seeing how things are. I feel like there's got to be a client side linter though. So like if we look at
Hmm.
JavaScript.
Rafi mentioned another one. I'm gonna try to grab this link and put it in our little chat so you can see it.
Okay.
1 minute.
I don't know if this is the one Rafi was referring to, but I'm just gonna open up the chat.
I think it might be.
Okay.
I think it's the same one.
Dia David
Oh wait,
has.
no, that one.
Okay, it's this one.
It
Okay,
kind of
so
makes me curious if a website like GitHub is already doing that,
uh,
like with their Markdown.
yeah, no, it's that could be something to look into as well. Um, I see here in the thing that Rafi shared, it looks like these look like linter rules here. So heading increment, no trailing space. I feel like heading increment is probably a good one to look into for the other issue we need to look into, which is the hierarchy of them. So
Yeah, he said he thinks it accepts custom rules. I think that's why he suggested this one. So
okay, I'm just gonna add these to our notes here. Um, Yeah, because I think if we can leverage an existing package that does all this, because writing a custom linter is probably not not something I would want to do because it involves all kinds of
No.
things. Like with the linter, it's you got the ASTs, the abstract syntax tree, and then there's I think it probably does make sense to leverage like a platform that already handles it and then either use the existing rules or potentially tweak some. Do you think that's a good
Mm.
idea, or what do you think about that?
Just in terms of using somebody else's package,
Yeah.
or sorry, I was testing it out in GitHub and they actually have an
Oh, okay.
H1. But yeah, I would say definitely look into how we can leverage somebody's library. I don't know if I
Okay.
answered your question there.
Yeah. No, I was just curious of your thoughts on it. Okay, that's giving it.
I think he
Okay.
was maybe, and Nick, you can tell me if you're wrong, asking whether you think it would be too much to like create your own versus like just using someone else's, and maybe we could already have someone else's stuff out there that we can use.
Yeah,
That might
and
be
if I,
better to add to this.
yeah, because I mean I know GitHub stars don't necessarily mean it's a good thing, but this appears to be a pretty mature Node.js package, and it's got over
Hmm.
2,000 stars. The only thing I'm wondering is it does install, but uh, I'm wondering if you can use it on the front end. I feel like you probably can. Okay, it's what's used to power the VS Code Markdown lint extension. I actually use that
Hmm.
extension in VS Code.
So
Okay.
do I. Yeah.
Okay. So that's interesting. So so I think this might be I think this might be interesting to plug in into here. I'm not sure how it works yet. You know, I don't think it would show the squiggly red lines and stuff because it's just a package to validate things. Like the UI part might be separate, but if we can potentially validate that chunk of Markdown that's in the post by running the Markdown package here, that could potentially work. So I'm just trying to see if it says anything. I'm gonna zoom this in a bit because I realize when people are watching this on a stream, it might be like, whoops, it might be like reading something super tiny. Okay, it's for Node.js. The only way to know is like a lot of npm packages will work on the server side and the front end, but if it's using stuff like the file system, it probably won't. But um, it's something we could look into maybe. I'm trying to see here. Okay. Well, I think definitely we need to look into this one at least. I don't know if Rafi knows if it can be used on the front end as well, because like uh, I, I've done a bunch of Node stuff, and I'm sure this definitely works on the back end for sure. I'm just curious more about the front end. I'm just trying to see. Okay. Yeah, no, it has a pretty decent set of linter rules here.
Yeah, I'm just playing around with the demo that they have and just putting in like 3 H1s, and it's, yelling at me, hey, no duplicate headings, and you
Yeah,
get the same stuff, and this is top level headings twice. So
yeah,
they
and
they got
actually
some pretty good
it is
ones.
under it's only in like a text area I'm guessing here, and it is doing the squiggly. I just want to see what happens. I'm gonna open up the dev tools. I just want to see if it's making a network request to check on the back end,
Hmm.
maybe. I doubt it, but because if it isn't, then that means this can probably work in the front end.
Mm-hmm.
So if I do yo, yol, and then let's make that a 3, and then come down here. Oh, whoops, I meant to make that a 2. No, that won't work. Oh yeah, I'd have to do
Yeah.
something. I'd have to do
It's
something
still
like that.
yelling at you. It's saying, it's saying like, hey, you should only increment by one level at a time.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
Oh,
so
it is
it's
saying that.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so this looks like it works just on the client side
Yeah.
because I don't see any network activity going on.
Mm-hmm.
So so this might
Nice.
be a potential. I think at
This
least to
looks
do
very
a
promising.
yeah, I think at least to do a proof of concept to start off at least. I
Mm-hmm.
think this would be good. So why don't we? Let's see here. Okay, so there's that. Okay, so why don't we're gonna switch to live share mode so everybody can see the editor as well. Um, why don't you stop your server right now, Elliot, and we're gonna install the Markdown lint package, and then we're
Okay.
gonna see what we can do with it. Um, I'm just going to switch us to coding view, and of course we're
Okay.
all squished. Okay,
Gracefully shutting down the workers.
all right. I'm just gonna shrink our Zoom window a bit. We're gonna look super tiny, but I can guarantee you we are still here. All right, and I'm gonna switch to the code on my side. Where did you go, editor? There you are. Okay, and I'm just gonna stop sharing just because we don't need to do the double share. Cool.
All right.
All right. Okay, so we're good here. Okay, so yeah, if you can just install that package. Um,
Do I
I
need to
think
share anything,
no, you
or is
can.
it?
I'll go into the package JSON file, but you can just do we use yarn actually, so do a yarn space add the name of the package
Do I need to
and
be in Bash or just out of Bash?
bash zsh whichever. As long as you're in the root folder of the Forem codebase, you can just run
Mm-hmm.
yarn add from there.
Okay. All right. Yarn add, and then it's Markdown
Dash
hyphen
lint,
lint.
I think.
Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. And
Okay.
yeah, so we'll let that install, and this I should see this update soon. I have the package JSON open on my computer, so folks at home should be
Hey,
able to
Nick,
see it. Yep.
what theme do you use? Because people usually ask these things.
Yeah. Okay, well first off, I'm gonna switch to Zoom view for 2 seconds, but I just want to give a shout out to this shirt. It says Night Owl. Night
Yeah.
Owl is an amazing theme that I love from Sarah Drasner, who works at Netlify. I think she's head of developer experiences. I think that's her
Yep,
role
I
there.
think so.
Yeah. She's just all around amazing. She's like SVG, uh, amazing developer. She's amazing, and she's a really good artist too. But she made this theme called Night Owl, which is what this T-shirt is. I bought this shirt one because I like the theme, but also it was for a fundraiser for Black Girls Code at Black Girls Code online on Twitter. Um, but the theme I'm using right now is not that, but it is another theme of hers that she recently
I
created,
was
and
gonna
it's
say it's a
called
new one, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
it's her new theme called In Bed by 7 p.m. because
that's me. Mm.
she had some coworkers that they're like, oh yeah, the Night Owl theme I guess is really good, but I literally go to bed early, so she made this other theme for them. So
Yeah.
so that's what this
That's
one is.
fun.
So if we go to theme, yeah,
I love it.
or am I on Synthwave right now? Let me go to In
I
Bed.
posted it. Yeah, I posted it
Okay.
in the
Okay, I didn't
chat.
realize. Okay, I'm on it now. So this is In Bed by 7. The first one I was on was Synthwave 84. I guess I forgot to toggle.
Okay.
But but normally I've been on Night Owl. Just
Yeah,
I
that's the
I
one I
just like it.
used to use.
But for the folks
I
at home,
recently, I'm one of those people who switched to a light theme. Oh no, I know. If we want to get spicy here, because I actually
yeah,
have
oh, it's
astigmatism.
spicy.
I have astigmatism, and I found out like after a while, I was always like, why am I squinting so bad? It's because you can't see the lighter text on the back, like the dark background as well, when you have
Okay, yeah,
astigmatism. And so using the lighter theme has actually made that a lot better. I still use dark theme
yeah,
on like everything else, but yeah, I'll
yeah,
go that every day.
yeah. I know. It's good to keep the stream nice and spicy, but in all seriousness, folks, use whatever theme is best
Yeah,
for your eyeballs. You know, don't let anybody else tell you otherwise because they don't know your eyeballs. And eyeballs are important, so
they
just
are.
yeah. Uh, anyways, yeah. So just to clarify, I've switched to the in bed by 7 p.m. I thought I had switched to it the other day, so I had it installed. I must have toggled or something.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. So
You
so
still have
getting
us
back.
on Zoom if you want us somewhere else, just so you know. We're
Yeah.
still on Zoom.
Okay.
You. There you
Thank
go.
you. Thank you, Second Brain. Okay. Cool. All right, we're miniaturized again. Okay, so we're back in the code editor. Yeah, so you can go ahead and install the Markdown dash lint, or did you do that already?
Yes, completed.
Okay, yeah, I see it here. So for the folks at
Mhm.
home, you can see it's installed here. We installed it in the dependencies because it's a dependency we need for the build, and we also need it because it's going to end up in the Webpack bundles, which is what we're going to
Okay.
be. The Preact, all the Preact stuff gets bundled with Webpack. Talked about this briefly yesterday as well on the stream. I don't know if you can find that stream link, Christina, and just pop it in too. But if you just go on our Twitch channel, it's the other video in there. Um, but yeah, so now we have this loaded. I think that's great. We're gonna let's go back to. I'm gonna share my screen again, and we're just gonna go to the. Gotta share my screen, of course. Da, da, da. Here we go. Cool. I really gotta get better at toggling things because it's okay. It says I'm sharing my screen, but
That
I
was
see
the worst
blank.
thing. I, I can see your screen on our thing, but yes, not
Ah, there
on
we go.
the
Here we
actual
go.
Twitch yet. There. Okay.
Okay. Our videos have moved around, but that's something else. I'm just gonna
There we go.
slide over
Yeah, we can
here.
see it. You're good.
Cool. So yeah, so we've got the package installed. That's great. Just want to see how we're supposed to kind of bootstrap it into an application. So I don't know if you want to give a read too here. I'm just gonna zoom in for the folks at home.
Yeah, I'm drilling down into it as well.
Cool. I know we have the demo there, so we can definitely see there. So these are all the rules that are provided, and I have a
Mhm.
feeling too, like ESLint, you can probably create custom rules if you needed to. I have a feeling though most
Mm.
of the rules that are in there will probably be enough for us, but you never know. Okay, so for example, okay, this is just showing
Yeah, I did
markup
see
example.
accessibility. It was up there at the top.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see how you add it to it. Yeah, there's a couple things here. We we want to definitely bootstrap it into the editor. The other thing too is we have to think of performance-wise how this will work. So we might want to consider doing a dynamic ES module import when we do this because the page is going to load and then the Preact component is going to bootstrap. I don't know how big this package is, so if it's a sizable amount, it could be beneficial to just import it dynamically, and then we can resolve it through a promise or async await, which just works with promises. But that's kind of like just little notes for after. We don't have to do that right away. Um, okay, so yeah, so it looks like we need to create a JSON file with I think this might be the rules. All right. Const read config. I'm trying to get just a clear example. Who knows, maybe we'll, I mean, there's a lot of API documentation here. So read config file. Yeah, you see here, so it's using a promise. It's got a promise API. I'm hoping these are for Node because it's using the file API. there's file APIs in the browsers as well, but so maybe it's fine. But from what we've seen, everything seems to be okay. It could be just a question of loading it here. Okay. So we have, here's kind of an example. Okay, so this is probably good.
Yeah.
So they're using require here. So for folks who might be new to Node or new to front-end development, there's a lot of stuff going on with modules. So before in Node there was require, which is how you would load packages. Since I think it's out of experimental mode now, but I think it's in Node version 14 and on, you can actually use ECMAScript modules natively now. And for our use case, they are native in the browsers that we do support, but we're using Webpack, so it handles that regardless. So in this case here, we would probably want to do an import markdown lint from the markdown lint. So why don't we maybe snag this whole code snippet here, Eliot? And
let me scroll down to it.
Yeah.
All right. I'm getting it.
I'm wondering if we.
All right.
I'm wondering if we want. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So let's snag that, and I'm gonna switch back to the coding view. And okay, let's look at. You're gonna look for a file that I showed it to you at the beginning of the stream here. It's called article form.jsx. So I'm gonna open it as well. There should be two. There's article form.jsx in app/javascript/article form, but there's also app/javascript packs article form. We're gonna go into the pack file just for now, because I just want to test out this snippet of code to see what it does. So in this
article
file,
form packs.
Yeah.
And then article form. Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm in it.
I see in there. Yeah, you're in the matrix. I see you. Okay, so that's perfect. So there's nothing wrong with using the require here because Webpack will be able to manage getting it, but we might as well stick with the ES module syntax. So yeah, we can do an import. The example they have here is showing what's called a default export. So for example,
I don't need to use that.
Yeah, and then you say from markdown lint. So what I mean by default export is it just exports something from a module, and then you can literally name it anything you want. Like people typically will name it to what it's relevant to, but you could literally say import potato from markdown lint, and then we could use potato and it would still work. This is something that people discuss about a lot. I wouldn't say it's so much bike shedding because I think it's valid. I tend to prefer explicit imports and exports. So like if you were to do this won't work in our case here because of the way the package is built. But by doing this, when you do a refactoring, so say this was our package and I say I want to change the name of this thing I'm exporting to markdown lin.
Something.
It's gonna most modern editors, definitely VS Code, it will be able to refactor all those instances everywhere. Whereas if you have it as the default export like this, and I say I want to call it markdown lin, it's only gonna change it in this file. So that's just a side note.
Interesting.
But that's kind of just trying to drop some knowledge here as we go through things as well. So
no, I didn't realize that. That's interesting.
Okay, so that's great. So we've pasted in the snippet here. Okay, so it's saying files good empty, bad empty, good string, bad string. Okay, so options. Okay, so I'm just taking a guess here, looking at it, but it has the options object up top there, and there's files and strings in terms of properties. I'm guessing, but I think this means it can process files or it can process actual text, which is like good.string, bad.string. So I'm wondering if we don't want to work with an actual Markdown file because we're in the editor and we're in a browser. We don't have access to a Markdown file. We just have the content itself. So I'm thinking we can probably get rid of the files one. And if you just delete that, the line 8 there.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I know we haven't made any changes to the editor yet or anything. All I want to see is let's start up the web server again. And I'm gonna switch to my browser view. And that's so right here. Cool. And I need to see my browser.
Nick, which file in your VS Code were you trying to share? Because I'm not sure you're on the right one, by the way. Just wanted to let you know.
I was in article form in the packs folder. That's what I had visible. If I come
Okay,
back
we were
here.
seeing like export Twitch stuff. Just so you know.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
That's very weird. I don't even know where Twitch would be. Let me close this.
Then start up.
Yeah, that's pretty odd that you saw that because I only have one file open in VS Code Live Share. Oh, wait a minute. That is very weird. Oh, why?
I think it was all your like secret keys.
Yeah,
Just
it's
noticed that.
yeah, I know, but I don't even know where that's coming from. I only have one VS Code open,
Yeah.
so I have no idea why
Yeah, that's weird.
Okay. Honestly, it's my GitHub and Twitter API keys for the local development, so if somebody does hack it, it's
Yeah.
not really. I'll change them, but you know,
Time to change the keys.
it's a stream. Something's supposed to go wrong. I'm
Yeah.
gonna change this
Just
window
wanted
to
you to
just
know
see.
that's the one we're seeing, so.
I gotta say that's oh
It's
that's so
okay, it
weird.
happened. We knew it would happen, right?
Yeah. Okay, I know what happened. You should see the right file now. The streaming software somehow kept a cached version of my other VS Code that was open. It's no longer open. So okay, so you want to just double check, Christina, but you should be able to
Yeah,
see
hold on.
article form now, because that's what I see on the stream now.
Yep, that's what I see now.
Okay,
You see me
so
clicking around.
yeah. All right, so folks, be gentle on my GitHub and Twitter API keys. That's okay, you know. At least it's not for anything production. Okay. There you go. All right. So yeah, so now that folks can see the actual file, so what Eliot did was there was two sections to the options of the Markdown lint function
Yeah, I
here.
can undo.
Yeah. So
And then we get rid of this. Yeah.
yeah. So I think those options are to validate files and strings, but in our case, because we're in the browser, like I mentioned, until GitHub key secret gate, we just really want to validate strings because it's the content within in the browser editor of Forem software that we want to do. So save this without the files and the options there, Elliot. And then I'm gonna get you to start the web server again if you haven't already.
Oh,
And then
back too far.
yeah, and we won't
There we
need
go.
to start and stop it at this point because Webpack will rebuild all the time when we make changes. It was just because we had to install the Markdown lint package. And just Christina, if you can just take note to remind me to change those keys after. There you go.
Someone suggested something, but since I refreshed, I couldn't see what the suggestion was in the chat for something that would hide that for you, by the way. I don't know if you can see that, but I will.
It could have been worse.
Yeah,
It could
I'm
have been like
seeing
sorry,
I'm
go
seeing
ahead,
an error there in the terminal.
Okay, let me actually run it then, and
Are you
I'll
able to
see
see
what it
that?
says. I can't.
It's saying well, maybe it's not. Maybe it's working again now.
Is it up and running? I'll go to the browser.
Yeah,
And see.
it's running now. It was saying error with the node module use strict for Markdown lint.
Okay.
Failed to compile, but now it's saying it's working.
Yeah, I think that
And,
was
and
when you
yeah,
were
yeah.
using the require, because we have ESLint rules in place, and
I see. Yeah.
probably I
Okay.
don't think you can use ESLint. So I'm gonna go to write a post.
Mm.
Nothing's gonna change visually here. It's just taking a second to load
Mm-hmm.
up. Um, I don't know if it's still building on your end or what. Okay, we're here. So visually nothing's changed, which is to be expected because we just have a snippet of code that's going to run. I'm going to open up the dev tools here, and we're going to go back to that article form. And and this is stuff I kind of like to typically do. I might do this in a code sandbox instead. I'm just doing it in our actual thing here because we have live share running. It's just so everybody can see it and stuff. But you can do this stuff in like code sandbox or even code spaces, which is it's still in beta on GitHub, but I somehow miraculously got my invite yesterday, so I'm very excited to try that out. Oh, whoops, wrong article form.
Yeah, and the packs. Yeah.
Article,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, pack. Why am I not seeing it? Article form.jsx, pack. It is not there. That is very odd. Let me refresh the page. Okay. Hello, where did you go? Article form. Interesting. Okay, it's just taking a sec. There we go. Okay, that's a snack zone. We don't need that. Okay, so we have our markdown lint in here, and I'm just gonna put a. Okay, one thing we'll actually have to do now is markdown lint options. Oh yeah, we're calling it there. So I'm gonna put a breakpoint in here, and let's see what happens. The breakpoint looked kind of gray, so I don't know if it's gonna catch it or not. We'll just see here. Okay, why is it not picking it up? I'm gonna put it here maybe. If you save the file again, do you get any Webpack errors when it builds, Elliot? Because I have the files here, I
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah, I got some. It's you want to
If you want to share your screen for a sec, or actually, if you want to stop the server and I'll run it, because I have access to your terminal as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna I'm gonna run it from my terminal. Well, your terminal from my screen. I'm just gonna run bin startup, and I just want to
I
see what
swiped
the
the
error.
error. It's saying error in node modules, markdown lint, index,
Okay.
module parse failed. You may need an appropriate loader to handle this file type. Currently, no loaders are configured to process this file.
Interesting. Oh, can you stop your server for a sec?
Oh, sure, yeah.
I'm just gonna run. So, for those
Okay.
interested in contributing to
It's
the form code base,
exited, yes.
okay, cool. Yeah, maybe
Mhm.
can you link to the installation guide, Christina, in the
Yep,
docs
I'll
if
find it
anybody's
again.
interested? Uh, there's two commands you run. Typically, you run bin slash setup, which sets everything up, the database and all that, and then you run bin slash startup, and this is a Ruby script that will run Webpack among other things. So you can see here it's running Webpacker, which is a Ruby gem that allows you to use Webpack a lot easier, more easily in a Ruby on Rails application. So it's just building. It might take a sec. I haven't got any errors yet from Webpack, so it seems okay so far. Okay, so it gave a fail to compile. Okay, so if people can see that, I've highlighted it here. So it's complaining because it's trying to load the FS package. FS is a node package for the file system. So it looks like this is requiring Node.js for the backend. Um, I just want to see. Don't worry, it's not the end of the world. I still think we're on the right. I still think we're on the right track to. If we go back to the browser, I still think it's a good idea to use some kind of Markdown linting package. I'm just curious if they have anything because there are some packages where you can disable certain things so that you can use it on the front end as well. So we're just trying to see here. Require FS. I'm just looking in the issues here to see if anybody's like, hey, I can't do this on the front end or something.
Yeah.
Okay, nothing there. And this is typically something I do in my day-to-day is you get good at Googling things. So this one it's pretty generic. So I would probably get a million hits of things that wouldn't really be relevant because it's just saying it's trying to load the file system module in Node and it can't. So I'm just wondering. Let's see here. I'm not sure what the best wording to look for is. Front end maybe. Okay. The other thing is there's nothing stopping us from necessarily trying to get a Webpack loader in here. I won't go too much into Webpack really right now, but Webpack is a bundling system like Parcel. There's also Rollup.js, but Webpack has this notion of plugins and loaders. So plugins are things you can do after files have been processed with Webpack, I believe, and the loaders are what you use to manipulate files as something's building. And I'm just wondering if require fs Webpack loader. Whoops, I spelled that wrong. Yeah, so here's kind of the error. It might not be the exact same one, but basically I want to see if we can somehow get the package working even if we don't use the file system module. Okay, so here with the prefix comment.js. Okay, this is something we can look into. This might require a little more deep diving than because we've got about 30 minutes left. We can go a bit longer for sure if you want to, Elliot. I have some time. I don't know if you do, Christina. Cool.
Yeah, I've got time.
I'm just trying to see here if there's something where you can kind of, it's not really shimming, like faking the file system when we're building, but I need fetch. I feel like there's got to be something in the repository where somebody tried to use it on the front end.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm just gonna go into the 239 closed. Well, that's a lot. I'm just gonna scroll through here and see if I can find something. I know this might be boring for people on the stream right now, but yeah.
Well, to sum it up, we found a cool like linter that we want to use to kind of let people know that they shouldn't be using H1s, like multiple H1s. That's the problem we're having. And so we found this linter, we want to add it, but we are trying to figure out how to work with it on the front end and not have to use a node right now. Nick, just one comment. I don't know if you froze us on Zoom, but we are frozen on Zoom. I think us actually talking is working fine, but just wanted to let you know that our actual like Zoom stuff in Twitch is frozen. It has been for a little while, so
we just move really slowly. Zoom
We're here. We're here.
All right.
I think they can hear us fine. They just can't see us.
We're in sloth mode.
Yeah, I'm gonna switch it back. Let's go to here. Let me share my GitHub keys again, and then we'll. Where did the Zoom go? We'll just come here. Sure. Okay, now we're moving. It's just we're super huge. Let's go here. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I'm just gonna shrink us down again. This is something, I don't know, for people that stream a lot, because I've only been doing this since July. I'm trying to find like just a way to avoid having to resize these things, like when I go from like Zoom share or not. I know there's Discord and there's video, and I know people do that on the Twitch stream, and I've been reading up on it. I still haven't found like a concrete way to say, here's my webcam, which I can show with the streaming software. I'm using Streamlabs OBS, which is pretty popular. But I just want to have like the single video of one or more participants. So I think when you're like a Twitch team and stuff, you can do stuff like that. But I'm trying to find a way to do it without that stuff, because we're not a Twitch team right now. You have to go through all these things. Okay. Let's see here. I'm just gonna Google Markdown linter run it. Okay, now we're showing. It's showing Rome. That's another thing. Rome's the person who created Babel JS, which used to be called ES6 to 5. Sebastian McKenzie. It's a whole build tool chain he's built for the front end with several people. It looks interesting. That's just a side note, but okay, everything seems to keep pointing to this, and given that it's working in the browser here, I think there's something we're missing, and I'm not sure what it is yet. It could be just the Webpack thing. So I'm gonna go back here and look. Webpack loader FS. So
Yeah,
FS
I'm guessing you
meaning,
wouldn't have to import that in the code because it's
well, the thing
it's
is,
a, it's a Node core package, right?
yeah, so you wouldn't be able to, like, when it would go to bundle it. So I basically what I think is happening right now is we've imported it. The import is fine. It's when Webpack goes to build the bundles and attempts to go split things, there's a reference to the file system native module of Node that just doesn't exist in the front end browser, so it chokes there, and that's why we get that error. So I'm just trying to see. It could be this. I'm just trying to see other things here. FS loader. I'm just curious to read up on this. Uh, I know there are some folks that can be intimidated by Webpack. I've had to configure it a ton of times, and it can be overwhelming sometimes. It's gotten a lot better though. Uh, it's
It
pretty.
used to be if you mentioned anything on Webpack, people would be like, just don't ask, just deal with it. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
wait,
yeah. No,
we need to know how to do this. So, yeah.
yeah. Pretty much every place I've worked at, I've had to configure it, and then once it's configured, though, you typically don't have to touch it again um, unless you need to add new functionality, like a new plugin or loader.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just kind of curious what this Webpack loader for copy file. No, that's not. The other thing is, since we're here, might as well. This is something that folks might not think to do sometimes, but we're working in open source. We have the npm packages installed. We literally have access to the entire code. So I've actually had to debug things before, like in Webpack code or even a package I've installed. So I'm just gonna stop for a second here, and I'm just gonna literally open that actual file, and let's just see what it's doing. Because I remember at one point when I was using a Webpack loader, it just wasn't doing what I thought it was supposed to do. And then once I started stepping through the code, I realized I had something misconfigured, and it's probably my fault for not reading the entire documentation or something. But so what I'm gonna do here is
This is just flyby
yeah.
fixing, we're just trying to see what we can do here.
Okay, so as most people probably know, because there's always node underscore module jokes about file size and like just nuking your computer. All the packages are in here. So ours is called Markdown lint.
You're not sharing it yet. I'm just gonna keep
Oh, yeah,
bugging you
yeah.
about these things.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I clearly
I
haven't
know
had
it's
enough
easy
coffee
to.
today. All right.
There we go.
Okay. All right. So let's just go there, cd into there. And you can literally, when you're running a project, like I've done this more in a node project because like when things get Webpack bundled and stuff, I don't know, you should still be able to hit the node module code because it's already minified and stuff, I believe, and they might have source maps, but I'm just gonna do a ls here, so I'm gonna list the files in the Markdown lint package. Yeah, typically it's one file, the index.js, and I'm typing code here. Code is it's an option you can, if you come to your VS Code and you can say code. I'm using Visual Studio Code Insiders, but you can install it as part of the path so that you can actually launch code from the command line. So this is going to open the index.js file into the editor. Just give it a second. Oh, I think it's because I'm on your. I think it's, oh yeah, it's because I'm in your folder, I think. I'm in the live share, it's not working. I wonder if what else I can do to do that. Can you maybe open that file, Elliot? If you go to,
What was the?
so if you're in the editor right now, if you go to the terminal,
Hmm.
if you type code space index.js, it should open. I think it has to do.
I don't think I'm in the right place. One sec.
No, I saw you
Let me
typing.
see.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're
Yep.
you should be in the right
Code.
place and index.js.
Okay.
Okay, so maybe it's
So
not
command not
installed.
found.
Okay, that's fine.
Let me
We can
go
open the
to that
file
here.
directly if not. You can do like just a Apple key
Just a search.
yeah.
You can search too. VS Code
Yeah.
will open it.
Uh, yeah, it depends. I have the node modules removed from my search. Uh, but
Ah,
if you don't, you could actually do that too, Elliot. And while you're trying to get that file open, Elliot, I'm just going to switch back to the shared browser and I'm going to go to the repository page for that project. And I'm just going to open the index.js straight from there for now. Is it here? No, that's the rules. Hold on a sec. I mentioned this on another stream, but for those who might not be aware, if you press the letter T when you're on GitHub, it gives you file search, and you can literally just start looking for things. Okay, so it's not going to show up there because I think the index.js is what gets bundled. So let's see here. It's got to be in the lib then. There's all markdown files, rules. Okay, let's here. Looks like they support TypeScript with because they have TypeScript files here. So it's in here. It's literally the. I'll zoom in again. It's the first reference. Well, actually, they're referencing a few. These three here are native to Node, so that explains that. Validate rules
Okay.
list.
I have it open now.
Okay, we can switch over there then. Let me go to
Yeah.
my editor. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to see it though.
yeah. You just taught Rafi and I both about the searching in GitHub like that. I didn't know either. He said he didn't know.
Okay.
I did not.
Cool. I know there's definitely other shortcuts in there. Uh, and also,
Mm.
since we're talking about shortcuts, I'll mention this. If you're on the dev website, if you press the / key, it'll automatically put focus on the search. It's uh, I I added that feature years ago. What? Because I've been like I mentioned to you the other day, Christina, I was the first external
Hmm.
contributor, and I had worked on the search in the beginning before they went public, and that's one of the things I think Ben had asked for that. So, and there's other shortcuts coming. Like somebody's got a PR up for if you use the J and K keys, you can navigate between articles on the homepage. It's not merged yet,
Oh,
but
Mm.
um, yeah. So I
Yeah,
can't
keyboard
see
shortcuts
it.
for the win.
Yeah. You know what? I'm just gonna open. I'm gonna go back to the browser window because I can't open up the node modules even though we're in live share. There's usually a way to you can follow where people are going in the file system with live share, but for some reason I can't see where you're navigating to. So I'm just gonna go back to the Zoom share, and we're just gonna see uh, what's going on here. So it's requiring all the FS path and util, so clearly stuff related to file system manipulation. But if we look in the functions here, the validate rule list, I don't see anything in here that's related to the file system. New results list, file results. Remove front matter. Oh, that's actually interesting because we have, oh no, that's not front matter. I was thinking of liquid tag, sorry. Annotate tokens. Okay, there's a few things in here. I just want to see where FS is used. Okay, so it's in here, and this file is, okay, so lint file. We have the rule list, the file, the markdown. So I'm curious how their demo is working because we didn't see anything going on in the network. The lint rule, I'm just going to see where this is called. And just kind of getting back to the point I was talking about in terms of like debugging, you know, we would have access to all this code. There's nothing stopping you from saying like, hey, this is doing something weird. Like say you have a package you've imported, it's not working how you thought it would, and then all of a sudden it gives some error. If you copy that error, you go look in their source code, you can see what generated the error, and then you can kind of backtrace to figure out how you got to there. You might not always be able to, but I've done that quite a bit. So lint file, lint file. Okay, so this is just being passed as a function into another function. Yeah, I'm really curious how because if we come back to the demo here, there's literally no network activity. I have it set to all. So let's load it up again. I'm just gonna reload their demo. We might have to, because we're definitely gonna not get things finished today, which is not a big deal, like I mentioned, Elliot. But I think it's worth maybe we can pair on this after to just kind of dig down and see how the demo is actually working.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. Hmm.
okay, so the markdown linter. Yeah, so this is okay.
There's definitely
Yeah,
some conflict somewhere.
yeah. I mean, like
Just talking about.
I 100% understand why it's not building in Webpack because of those node modules it's trying to load, the native modules, but
Hmm.
I'm just really curious how this is working. So let's delete everything again. Gonna clear the network. I just want to make sure there really isn't something I'm missing. Uh, test. Okay. This is pretty bizarre. I don't see any network traffic at all. Um, and also, since we're in here, you know, just might as well spread some knowledge here. When you're in the network panel, you can say "Show me everything." You can also XHR stands for it's an AJAX request. It's I forget what XHR stands for. It's XML something request. It's here is just the JS. So if I reload the page, you're just gonna see the JS files. So like you can, it depends what you're looking for. So you know, if I just want to see the CSS images or anything else, just the document, which is the web page itself, and you can see there's a preview here.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Hmm.
really curious. Let's see here. I'm just gonna Google a bit more. I don't know if you want to do some Googling too. Markdown link. Yeah. Gonna dig in here a bit deeper. Let's look for browser. Yeah, browser. Markdown link. Okay, here we go. Markdown link. All right. Once again, folks, read the documentation because we skipped over this. Okay, so they are saying generate normal and minified scripts with. Okay, so we have to grab the repo, run build demo, then reference Markdown IT and Markdown lint. Interesting. Okay, so I wonder if these are just, I don't think these are ES import, sorry, ECMAScript module. I'll say ES module, but I mean ECMAScript module, which is like the import export syntax with the squiggly brackets. These are just regular JavaScript files with functions from what I can tell, because we're just referencing the script tags. So this could be the way we go about doing it then, I think. And then here it's just saying run markdown lint. Okay, I think that's what we're gonna have to do there, Elliot. So
Okay. So we need to grab those scripts then.
Yeah, so just keep a bookmark for the page here. And apologies to the folks at home that we did not read through this part in the documentation.
It's a
I'm feeling a
good
little
lesson.
further.
Good lesson
Yeah.
for everyone.
Yeah.
Read the docs.
I think as all developers, we do this at some point, spend hours, what is going on? And then you realize, I also do a lot of documentation, so this kind of makes me feel like it's valid what I do sometimes.
Yeah, success. So all that to say, I think this is probably the package we want to go with. We're gonna build these files, but I think this is probably what we'll go with, and then we can test it out. So, I given that there's already the demo site that does this, so let's see, where's the demo? It's up top here. Let's go back to the demo for a second. I'm just gonna go view page source, and yeah, you'll see here. So they have a bundle down here probably, which is using ES modules that gets bundled with Webpack or something, but they're just explicitly adding these. So I think that's what we're gonna do. And what we can do here is, if we look at this, okay, it's all minified, so it is quite large though, from what I can tell. So just getting back to what I was talking about for performance here, we can't do a dynamic import because it's an actual script, but you can actually dynamically inject a script. So we could do that maybe. So that's literally just adding a script element to the DOM, and then we can set the src attribute of a script tag to those things there, because they both look like they'll be large files, and we don't want to slow down the page load, because one criteria, it's not in our pull request criteria, but we definitely want to focus on performance as much as possible. We don't want to slow things down. So I think that's what we're gonna do. And yeah, I don't know if you have any other thoughts about that, Elliot, or
No, I mean it looks pretty straightforward here in the docs. I mean
yeah. So lesson
and
learned.
to make it work in the
read
browser,
docs.
you need a minification script here.
Yeah, and there's nothing, so we can build them from we'll grab the repo, we'll build it with the latest version, I guess, and we can commit those files to the Forem codebase, because we do have other scripts like that are committed to the Forem codebase. And then we'll just look into, we'll worry about like loading the scripts asynchronously and stuff first. We can just literally just reference the tags in that page for now, and then we can go about trying to get things working. This might take a little longer, but I don't know if you want to share your screen, Elliot. So the steps we can do, I can do it on mine if you'd like to, but what we need to do is
I can give a
we need to,
shot.
yeah, okay, cool. So I'm going to, yeah, okay, I'm sharing okay, yeah, go ahead and share your screen on the Zoom.
Okay,
And
I got it.
okay, cool. That's not what folks are seeing yet, so give me 2 seconds to give them
Yeah,
that.
no problem.
And let's do Zoom share. Okay, there we go. Okay, so they can see what you see now. So what we're gonna need to do is if you scroll back to the top of this, well, there's two ways we could do it. We could literally download instead of building it all, just for now at
Mm-hmm.
least. If you go to that demo of the project, the interactive Markdown editor, I think it's at the top of it,
Top.
because we can definitely pull down the code and run the npm build demo like they were saying. But I'm thinking
Is that?
that, yeah, what we can do is we can hack the matrix here. So you can, if you go view page source, if you right click, that's right, folks, we're using our mice today because we are all
Oh, view
developers, real
page source.
developers.
I didn't do that. I'll do the page source. So I did inspect.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
And the
That
two,
tweet bothered you a lot, didn't it, Nick?
I was just talking to, I don't know, it's just silly stuff, you know what I mean? It's like, what do you mean you're not
Not
coding your website in assembly, like,
Yeah, not to call out a former student of mine, I won't say their name or anything, but they created a whole Discord channel just to complain about the fact that I was using mouse in class.
really? That's
Oh, when I
insane.
would live code. Yeah, a bunch of stuff like that. And I was like, I ended up talking to them and talking about like why I'm doing it because it shows it on the screen, right? You guys are
Yeah,
highlighting
yeah,
things with your mouse and stuff like that. I'm like, one, I just like using my mouse, who cares? But two, there's
yeah,
a reason for it. So
yeah. I mean, I really do use my keyboard a lot, but it just, I use a trackpad. I don't use a mouse, but
Yeah.
it's like I got it used off of Kijiji, which is Canadian classifieds equivalent to Craigslist. We have Craigslist too, but anyways. Yeah, so those two files there, if you right click on the first one, the markdown dash IT,
Oh, here.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's an actual file link. You can save that file to your local computer. Did I say that right? Beep beep boop.
Uh,
Uh, you just do just command button S, and it'll save the
Save.
file.
Oh, save. Never mind.
And what we can do is if you go to your Forem folder, I forget where all the other ones are stored, but there's app slash assets slash JavaScripts. I'm not sure if that's where the other ones we have that are like this, that is where we put it. But anyways, we can move it around after if not, but put it in there for now.
does
It,
this look right?
yeah, I think that's good. Yeah. And you can always move it around if not. And yeah, that's good. Just click save.
Okay.
And then we're going to do the same thing for the other file there in the demo.
Uh,
Yeah, that one. So the second one, not the default, but that one. And then we'll save that one too. I'm assuming we need both because they reference it in their demo.
okay. Saving.
Okay. Now we need
All right.
to, if you come back to, I'm just trying to think how these get added. Look in the, we have a cross-site scripting JavaScript file that is just a script that we reference. If you just do Command Shift F to look for XSS and then just press enter. Just want to see where it's included. Okay, it's included in, if you go into that base.js.erb file, yeah, you can click on there. Okay, so in here, talked about this briefly yesterday too when we were going through the front end architecture. This is a Ruby template, so it's a ERB. I forget what the ERB stands for. RB, I'm pretty sure is Ruby, but I forget what the E is. But anyways, that's not the point. It's a template, and when this gets rendered in the browser, it'll become a base.js file for us. And what this is doing here is this is all, it looks like comments, but what it's doing is these commands like require underscore tree. What that means is it says every file that's in the initializers folder, I want you to bring all those files in, and it concatenates this whole file, and then it minifies it, I believe. I hope it minifies it for production, but This is part of the Ruby on Rails asset pipeline. It's called Sprockets. It's the Ruby gem that's used by default. I think as a Ruby 5, definitely in 6, I think they're trying to encourage you to use the Webpacker. So like you use Webpacker for everything, but that's for another day. But
In
you
2 weeks, He will be on here talking about the back end.
yeah. So I feel like most people probably know who Vaidehi isn't, but sorry.
Yeah.
But she's another awesome coworker of mine who's just all around awesome human being, and she'll be here, like Christina said, in a couple weeks. So we dropped it directly in the JavaScripts folder, right?
Correct.
Okay, so let's try this. If we scroll down, because these are okay, you see how on line 7 it says require ahoy.js/dist/ahoy.js. We can do a require like that, I guess. And this isn't gonna perform well. Like we wouldn't deploy it like this. This is just to get the scripts in. But just add 2 more lines, and then instead of that whole ahoy.js/business, we're gonna put in the names of the 2 files that we just downloaded into that folder. And then you can look in the app/assets/javascripts folder to get the names there. It should be in the list of, yeah, those 2. So you can say copy relative path, sure. Okay, yeah, you can just leave the mark. Yeah, exactly. And then just do the same for the other one. And while Elliot's doing that, just to reiterate, this is not how we're going to ship this. I just want to get these in the base.js file so we'll have access to it. Later on, as the pull request progresses, we're going to try to dynamically load these with a script tag so it's just not slowing everything down. Or we can try just loading it with a script tag on that specific page, but we'll see. So let's save this. And
Okay.
I'm gonna
Saved.
Okay, and let's go back to the article.js, the article form file you have open there, and you can remove the import markdown lint. And I think we can keep the options because at this point the markdown lint function will exist, I'm assuming, based on those 2 scripts that we have added in the base.js file that will get generated. So
Okay.
at this point here, we can stop the web server if you are running it. The only reason why I say to is because I'm not positive with
I'm not running it.
Sprockets. Okay, so let's just load it back up again.
Okay.
And I'm going to switch back to the browser view.
Okay. Starting up.
Yeah. And if you just wouldn't mind if you just stop sharing your screen for a second. Cool.
Okay. Done.
All right. I'm going to share my screen so that you can still see stuff
You're
in
fast,
action.
Elliot. You're like doing everything before he even tells you. You're like, I already got this. I can read your mind.
He's like, yeah. He's like in the Matrix. I just learned Kung Fu. All right. Cool. So I'm going to reload this page. Might take a second because the server is building on your end. And also just going to mention, because we've talked about it briefly, but we're using live share in these sessions. I'm not saying this to promote Microsoft. It's honestly really amazing software. And another cool feature of this is the entire code base is on Elliot's machine. So when we're doing the live share, I'm editing files on his computer. And the web browser that I'm loading up right now, the website, this is literally his website on his machine that I'm able to see. So like typically you can't see the local host of somebody else. I mean, you can do it with other tools, like if you use something like ngrok and so on, but it gives you an external URL. This is like me literally going to localhost 3000. Okay, so already we're in business here. If you see me hovering over markdown lint, you can see it says FOEN. That's just the minified code. but the actual function exists. So and just a little
And
thing.
Nick, sorry to interrupt you again
No, go
for
ahead.
technical stuff. All your stuff is working that you're doing right now, so it's fine if you want to keep it. I'm just letting you know our videos are frozen again.
Okay, I'm gonna leave it for now. I think
I'm
it.
smiling though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything else works.
Uh,
Like
I'm gonna.
you talking, you showing us the stuff, the important things work. It's just our faces are frozen. So just so you know.
No,
It looked like
I
a
know.
happy moment.
I
Yeah, we're
know.
all smiling. It's fine.
I'm not gonna lie, folks. We're having the time of our lives. It's the best time ever. Um, yeah. No, I know what it is, and this is getting back to what I was talking about. It's when you stop the screen share and start. It's like the streaming
Yeah.
software remembers the last window and it's frozen because we're not projecting anything
Um,
anymore. But I'm gonna just try
I guess
something real
so.
quick. There we go. Zoom
Yeah.
floating video window. There we go. We're back. Okay, we're unfrozen and super tiny at the moment. And these are, and I'm being dead serious when I say this. If anybody that has streamed for a decent amount of time has a better way to do this, let me know, because uh, I definitely feel like an amateur right now. Okay, so one thing I wanted to show you is, so you can get the contents of a function. So you can turn it to a string. There's other ways you can do it, but I typically do this. So we can see that markdown lint is an actual function, and if I do markdown lint, okay. Oh, I spelled it wrong. But basically those two scripts we added there in the base.js have been picked up, and we have access to the thing now, to the function. So we're gonna run the markdown lint. We have our options here, and there's the string, so bad string and good string. This is strictly for demo purposes, but my guess is once this runs, so I'm gonna let it run now. Okay, so we're gonna end up here. There's no error, sure. What's it saying? Error is null, okay. And then it's gonna show us the results. Okay, let's come over here. I'm just gonna go in the console, clear, make it a bit bigger. And then we can see that it returned. Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay, so it doesn't have to be called bad string or good string, just to be clear. It could be called potato, it could be called, forum post content, or we'd probably do something like that. But what it's done is it's broken it down, and it gives you an entire chunk of information, what the rule was, whether if there's an error or not. So this is all great information. And so all this information you see here is most likely, if I close these dev tools, is what you see down here. They're rendering it so it looks nicer, but all that information we have access that to here. So in the bad one, and if we go in the good one, you see here, okay, there is I guess this is a warning maybe. It's just saying it should have a new line character, single trailing new line. So I think this is really great. It's parsed the content. So in our case, we passed in that options over here. I think what we would be doing in our case is when we were ready to preview or decide on how and when we validate it, we would be passing in a string property in here with the value, which would probably be the content of the editor. And then we could run the markdown lint, I think, and then we would get something that looks like this right now. This is clearly their demo stuff from the demo site, but and then based on this information here, we can decide what we do. And I think we're kind of pretty in a good place here. And I just want to stop for a second because it's 2:45. I think going 2 hours is probably a good max to hit, because although I do appreciate people coming on the stream, I think after a couple of hours of coding, people might sizzle out. So I think maybe we'll stop here, Elliot. We've made some really good progress. Like I said at the beginning of the stream, we don't necessarily have to finish things. here we're just kind of doing a proof of concept, and we even ran into some snags because we should all learn to read all the documentation. um, but I think we're in a good spot here because we've shown we can load it, we can get the errors like they did on the demo site, and obviously it's not in a place where we'd want to ship this yet, but I think there's enough meat here in terms of what we did in the proof of concept to really get this feature rolling now, or sorry, bug fix. Um, and yeah, I think here's a good time to stop. So let's just kind of recap briefly over. I don't know if you want to go ahead and recap, Elliot, to the best of your understanding what we did here. I find saying the things out loud or writing them down helps solidify things. So this is
Yeah.
probably the only time I put you on the spot, I guess. But
Yeah, I mean, I was just putting this in the issue. We began just kind of thinking through what did we want to do, and as we were talking about it, I think it was maybe Rafi, he suggested a linter, and then that led us to finding the Markdown lint node package library, and that's where we just hunted through that, looked through its the README for the GitHub of Markdown lint. And from there, we found the demo. We started testing it out, seeing that it could do some things that looked really promising. For example, it showed you the exact thing that we're looking for. For instance, if you have more than one H1 in your file, it gets angry at you and lets you know this is not good. It also tells you if you have things out of order. So if you're not following some accessibility rules, which is explicitly what we're looking for in the Markdown editor, then it is going to do the things that we're wanting. So we opted to give this a proof of concept, and from there we tried to implement just the first example, and this is where we didn't read the docs, and we stumbled over ourselves there for probably a good, would you say 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes?
Yeah.
We stumbled over that.
Good lesson.
Yeah.
But we were able
to be clear, I
track
I usually read all the documentation usually.
Yeah, so they have a section in the docs that talks about how to implement this in the browser, and that includes having some scripting for I think specifically it was the Markdown it and the Markdown lint in the browser. So we had to implement those into our base js.erb, and once we set those as required, then we could, without having to import those, we could access those straight from our article form and run that basic example with the option of a good string or a bad string, and it output that when it was called. So that's kind of where we're at with it, and have I guess a somewhat of a small proof of concept that it's working, but it's just not doing anything on our front end yet. That's where we'll move forward, is looking at implementing that.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great recap. Yeah, there's definitely things we'll tweak as we go along, but I think this is a great start, and we can sync up a little after the stream, but we'll get a branch created and just start working in there. Like you said, I think you had put some comments in the issue already. I think pretty much what you just recapped there, it'd be kind of good to pop something like that in the issue, just so people know like kind of the direction we're gonna go. There's and the thing is, this doesn't have to, like, we can also look into the server side part eventually, but even just getting this whole front end part done first is already a big win. But we can definitely make it more robust long term by also doing this validation, because we found there was that markdown linter gem as well. So we could maybe apply the same thing to that as well. But that's, all the issues aren't necessarily one-to-one with a pull request. It could be several pull requests. But I think getting this in the front end first is already a big win. And yeah, I'm excited to see this get merged, because I definitely think it's going to help. And thanks, Suzanne. I think it's Atchison for creating this issue. So it's good that we're going to get this worked on. Eliot, I want to give you a big thank you to you for coming on the stream today.
Yeah.
I know talking in front of people can be intimidating sometimes, but I was really glad you came on. Had a great time with you, and I know people join the stream at various points. So if you just kind of want to just give a couple more points about yourself again, like just talk about, like you had mentioned, I think you're still looking for your next role and so on. So just give a little short shout out about all that stuff, and then I think we'll wrap
Yeah,
things
sure.
up, Christina. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate it so much. Nick and Christina have been awesome. This experience has been great. Even just the things leading up to this event were just huge for me this week. Um, but I do want to, I guess, just let people know that I am looking for a React front end role. I am a product of the Mississippi Coding Academy night course. I want to say a big thank you to my instructors Levi King and Bryce Mulligan, and all the people at Mississippi Coding Academies. But this is a tuition-free boot camp that is in Jackson, Mississippi, and they've gone to a remote program. But I definitely want to thank them. I wouldn't be here without that boot camp, and also people like JC Hyatt and Nader Dabbit here in my local area. I want to thank those people. I'm very grateful for people that have poured out their expertise, similar to like Nick and Christina have done today. I'm very appreciative. These things are things that I've learned just being self-taught. I took the time to teach these things to myself, but actually having a boot camp to attend and follow through and learn these things from a senior like Nick and like Levi and like Bryce, they were huge to my growth as a developer. I wouldn't be where I am without them. You can find me on Twitter, Techie Eliot. That's Techie Eliot, Eliot. And you can also find me my website, techieeliot.com. I have a lot of my projects there, my resume. Please go there. If you happen to have a role with your dev shop or your company, you'd love to talk with me about it, please fill out my form there, send me an email, send me a DM. I'm very much open to talking with you about your roles. But and please do browse through my projects. And but if you're just here as a friend on the live stream, I appreciate everybody that's here. Please follow me on Twitter. And if you're having questions, and intimidated to talk to somebody about it, please just let me know. I'm always happy to help people in the dev community. And I also host, last thing, host Full Stack Open and Code Book Club. We go through You Don't Know JavaScript
Nice.
through the Code Club. And I'd invite anybody that's looking to learn more JavaScript, learn more React, definitely join the Code Club. You can find our Discord channel, and we mainly interact in the community there. But it's a great opportunity for you to build projects, read through content, and have a community of people that can kind of provide feedback, but also just it's just friendly community. Because if you talk with this about people in your family, they're not going to understand it, and you might feel all alone. So I encourage you, find community, find people that are on dev, find people that are on things like Code Club. They're all over the place, but these are two places that I definitely I'm encouraged to be more involved with dev as well, just from this experience. So I appreciate Nick and Christina again for inviting me into the code base, and I'm excited about Hacktoberfest as well. Just following through with this and getting that PR for Hacktoberfest. So thank y'all.
Cool. Well, thanks for the kind words. I did not ask him to give us kind words, but thank you for the kind words. And I've never met Nader, but we follow each other on Twitter, and he seems like a pretty cool dude. So it'd be cool to meet him one day. Thanks again for coming on the stream, Christina. Thanks for helping moderating and just being awesome in general. We are done our streams for this week. But we have our stream on Monday. Yeah, we're doing 4 streams a week, but Mondays it's a shout out. So anybody that's contributed to the Forem code base in the past week will get shout outs on that. That's on Monday. Tuesdays we're back on raise.dev's stream.
We have a
tweet out. Yeah.
Art.
Yeah, Arit, my other awesome coworker, she's gonna be talking about liquid tags. These will all get tweeted out from the Practical Dev Twitter account, and me and Christina will probably tweet them out too. And then Wednesday is
we're going to talk to Lisa about design systems and design and at Forem. Right. So yes.
Yeah. So Lisa, one of our lead product designer, is going to be on the walkthrough Wednesday, and then Thursday we'll be pairing again with somebody else from the community. So thanks for everybody showing up, and thanks again, Eliot.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next week.